we explore all this that will serve you in your relationships, that will serve you in making progress, building bridges, creating an ownership culture, and all of the best things that you could benefit from. Today, oh sweet mama, have we got some exciting things happening today with AI. And so our guests who you'll meet, who we've promoted, Jeffrey and Lewis, they're both going to bring in totally different perspectives that will set you and I up to succeed in our businesses and in our daily efforts for it. I'm starting off to just look at how AI is impacting the business I am in, which is the speaking business, the consulting business, putting together proposals, projects, messages for our clients that we serve and our potential clients that we work with. One of the things that I did this past summer, just even going into the fall, was a client that I've worked with for several years. I said, hey, I want to try to test out all of this AI business. And I had an idea for a message that kind of falls under my ownership mindset. It's this maybe mindset, which is built on the Chinese farmer. So if you haven't seen the Chinese farmer parable, it's a 2-minute video on YouTube, but it's the idea of when things happen to us, whether we interpret them to be negative or interpret them to be positive, really, you don't know either one what it will be. So it's maybe. So that's the essence. So I'm going to show you my chat GPT that I did, that it was just like, hey, I need to put together an hour-long message about the Chinese farmer. And so then, the chat GPT gave me some things in it. And I was like, oh, I love that. Thank you so much. Hey, I want to do these other things. And then it started giving me these different perspectives. I was like, that looks great. Now, you used Steve Jobs, blah, blah, blah. And it goes on and on and on. And so, as I'm sure you've tried, ChatGPT is literally the chat function where you're conversational with it. It's like, hey, thanks so much. Let's try it this way. Let's look at it from this angle. So it created it created like a 10 commandments of that. And so I was like, let's look at that. And then none of that worked out. And then I took that content and I jumped over to, we'll just show it from here. I jumped over to gamma.ai, which I put in, I copied and pasted, I kind of edited it in my Evernote, dumped in the text in, dumped it in, and then said, hey, create a slide deck. And so Gamma created 10 slides at a time. And I tried a couple different ones, and Gamma was the one I liked. And then it went on. And so then I could take it, and it generated, as you might imagine, all of these texts, these different, I love this one of Steve Jobs, different images, different, even the language that it created. And so it was just fascinating to be able to, incorporate some of the things that we did. And then I put in slides that went along with what they were doing, and all of those types of things. And so what I found is that idea of the prompt, like a lot of people are using it to write emails, but this idea of how we're putting the whole messages together, that prompts like, I know what I want to say, I know how I want to say it, but I want to expand it, was just so useful. And then the Gamma slides, I did tell the client, hey, I used AI, and they were very cool with that. And the idea of, hey, we're all experimenting and trying out and testing where these things can be utilized. And so for that, and the idea of how it generated, and what I really appreciated about it, and probably what you've seen also, is that I have a decent imagination, and I have plenty of ideas, but how it prompts different perspectives into our own ideas, and then go, okay, I'm going to run with that. And so even when the slide creation, what I really appreciated about Gamma was it had created the slides that I didn't even know it was going to populate. And so reading some of the words, because it also, as we'll see in a little bit, it takes it not verbatim, but it takes the information you give it and then goes, hey, I've got my own perspective on that. And so that idea to idea to idea has just been really useful, not just in the message creation, but even in working with our clients in how we're putting together content that applies directly to them, specifically to them, and then using the tools for that. I'm in a community, and there's been some great talk and conversations around a notebook, Google's Notebook LM, and the way to use our content to create podcasts, to create some video podcasts. And so I know when Jeffrey hops on, he's going to share some thoughts about that. And I'm so looking forward to that. So I'm not in the chat there on YouTube or on LinkedIn or in Facebook, but I would love to just ask, like, besides just asking questions to get, like, how are you taking it and producing something? Like, that's what I loved about this, is like, finally it's producing a slide deck that, again, gives me a base to work from. And then I went in and edited some things, but it's, it took significantly less time for building from scratch, and also gave me perspectives that I probably wouldn't have had initially, that then I could build upon and then formulate that in that slide deck that just worked out. Client loved it. Listen, I love this message. Also, this maybe mindset message that aligns already with my ownership mindset philosophies, but is built on an established parable, from centuries ago that resonates deeply with people. So I'd love to hear how you're using that beyond just creating answers and ideas, but an end product that is useful in the marketplace. That's really why Jeffrey is here today, because he, my goodness, has all kinds of practical uses and some significant tools for us to look at. So I'm going to bring Jeffrey from the backstage on. And so welcome, Jeffrey. So glad you are here.
Lovely to see you.
I've got you just over here. So if I side eye you, it's that way. I so appreciate you being here. I know you have so many things. I'm going to just kind of tee you up, right? I just started talking about how in this speaking community, they've been talking about Notebook LM and creating some podcasts and some video podcasts. I haven't got to dabble in it as much as I did just the basic ChatGPT or the DALL-E or the Gamma, like I shared with you, and you and I had conversations about that. So set us up for some of the tools you're using, what you're doing, because you're working in a consultancy role with businesses to kind of not fast track, but at least stay on top of the tools that are available and what can be done with them. And please blow our mind with some of these cool tools.
Yeah. First of all, I think...
Ready, go.
Okay. Everyone is a little overwhelmed with AI because there's so much and which tools, and there's a million of them. And I think it's important to just take a breath and think about what AI can be used for. And part of that is about thinking about what are the use cases. So as a speaker, as a professional, as a business person, what are things that I would like to not have to do? And can AI help me? And then there are the things that are the kind of shiny objects that I get very attracted to, that I will go and play with. And then I'm like, okay, how can we use these? So Notebook LM is the one that lots of people in AI are talking about, that has got a lot. It's a Google product. Up until a month ago, it was experimental. It's free.
Yep.
And what it does is it works kind of like a normal chatbot. So I just did something. I'm going to give you an example of how I used it just now, because I was going to come and meet with you. And one of the ways that people can use it is by thinking about, okay, so I took the last 4 weekly instigators that you wrote, or the Hawk Agency wrote.
Okay.
And that's the data I use. So when you think of AI, it's always about, well, what's the data set? So you can use data that it's trained on data, and then you can give it extra data and then ask it things. So I took those last 4 weekly, and so it created a little summary you see here. It can create frequently. These are all the things you can create, but these you could create in probably some other LLMs and other AI tools. The thing that's gotten people really excited is this right over here, this audio overview. So what it does is it takes that, whatever you give it, you can give it PDFs, you can give it links to YouTube, you can just cut and paste things in, and it creates what I like to call is a mini podcast. So have a listen. I haven't heard this. I did this as I was waiting. Here we
Hey
go.
everyone, and welcome back. Today we're going to do a deep dive into Greg Hawk's weekly Instigator newsletter. Greg's this entrepreneur, and he's kind of going through a lot of changes right now, like in his personal life and business. But what's really cool is he shares all this with this like playful, encouraging voice that just makes you want to keep reading.
Yeah, he's definitely not your typical self-help guru.
Exactly. So, in the entries that we're looking at today, there are a few big themes that kind of keep popping up.
Like embracing change.
Yeah, embracing change. And then there's kicking fear to the curb.
Right.
And this super interesting idea of like figuring out what your spine of life is.
That's a really good one.
Okay, I'll stop it there just to give people a flavor, and if anyone wants to hear more.
Yeah.
But all I gave it was the text of your weekly instigators. I didn't say anything about who you were, what you did, how great you are, and how you use your personal strife to help us all. And I'll show you how it works. So I'm going to give you an example. I thought with it being the day after.
Yeah, show us how.
So here it is. So, oh, wait, let me share it with you. So here we go. So here's Notebook LM. And again, you just go to notebooklm.google. There's the one I just created. If you're starting from scratch, you just create new. Now you could upload PDFs. You could do YouTube links or other links or Google Drive. I went and I got the lyrics to Born in the USA. I figured that would be an interesting one. So I just literally went up here and I'm going to just copy and paste the text in. So there it is, Born in the USA. Now it's immediately going to do all the things that you would expect. It's going to create a summary. You can create a user guide and table of contents. It even suggests questions. But what it's doing right now is it's generating a little conversation over here. And I'm going to play that in a minute. It's going to process. In the meantime, I'm going to give you one other example just to showcase kind of what it can do. So again, with it being an election, I thought I would share something kind of. So I went and again, this was just done with the text of the Declaration of Independence. Have a listen.
So you just did what you just showed us with that. You just dumped in the Declaration of Independence in this Notebook LM, just text only, and this is what it created.
Correct.
Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, that is correct. I did nothing more than upload the Declaration of Independence text, click, process, and then click generate the audio overview, which I refer to as a mini podcast. And it takes the information, creates a little mini podcast. This is 8 minutes, almost 9 minutes long, with these two AI voices that sound remarkably human.
They were diving into one of those documents that practically screams America, the Declaration of Independence. But get ready to go beyond the life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, because trust me, there's a lot more to uncover here than they teach in school.
It's true. And it's easy to forget, looking back on it now as this kind of symbol of triumph. But we really have to remember what was actually going on back in 1776 when this thing was written.
Yeah.
Tensions were off the charts.
Okay, so you get a flavor. It's giving a deep dive into the Declaration. I didn't tell it anything about the context. So it's a large language model. So it's using all the information it's been trained on. It's using Gemini, which is Google's large language model, both for the voice. It has some proprietary voice stuff, but all the other stuff to know the context of things. So we've now finished Born in the USA. So let me just to show you how fast that happened. So you saw me cut and paste in the lyrics. And now
you didn't tell it anything about it. You just
I didn't say a word. And you'll see immediately it already knows it's the song Born in the USA by Bruce Springsteen. And I didn't even give it that. And so let's hear what
you just put the lyrics.
I literally just put up the lyrics. Let's hear what it's gonna say about it.
All right. So have you ever heard a song so many times you think you know it backwards and forwards? And then all of a sudden, boom, it just hits you in a whole new way.
Yeah, totally.
That's Born in the USA for me.
Wow.
It's like one of those songs that I thought I knew.
Right.
But then I was like, whoa, there's a lot more going on here.
Yeah.
So today we're going to do a deep dive into Bruce Springsteen's.
I'm going to just,
it is.
And I think
I'm going to scroll ahead just because it's kind of doing, just to see what it says later.
Highlights the struggles that a lot of Vietnam veterans faced when they came home. They were trying to find jobs to deal with the trauma. Right.
Trying to fit back into a society that just didn't seem to understand what they had been through.
Or care even.
Or their pair.
Yeah. And it's like this powerful indictment.
Okay. So Jeffrey,
Tweeted.
We got the declaration, we got Hawks Agency. So what, besides the novelty that is just like, that is crazy interesting how it uses voices who sound very much like humans and the way they interact with each other. And there's nobody told it to do that at all. You just put this text in and that's what comes out of it. How can we use that in business? Okay. What can we do with taking text to audio that's conversational and summarized? Give us a few best case uses.
So I think one of the things is we're trying to use AI to help us be more efficient, more productive, and a shortcut. So the way that it can be used, I think one of the biggest use cases is for learning about a prospect. So if you don't know about a company you're going to visit, and so you're late and you've just, your assistant or your junior associate has booked a meeting with this company, and it's tomorrow, you don't have time to necessarily go and do a lot of research. You say, okay, go and find, some documentation from their website. Maybe they have a frequently asked questions. They have an about page. Take all that, and you can put in multiple sources. It's not just I did one. PDFs, whatever information, collateral materials you have, you load all up to Notebook LM. It can give you a summary. It can give you, but then when you generate it, let's say, okay, so now it's the next day and I'm driving to meet Greg, my new prospect, and it's a 20-minute drive. Well, I've got 10 minutes of an audio that tells me all about Greg and his company. But
can I just put like a website link? Can I just put like a website link in there and have it just extract everything from the website and summarize it?
I believe. Or
do you have to do like an about page? Like
no,
you have
I
to
think
do
you can, I think
different
you can
link.
literally, go and put in. Well, let's. I'm going to test it right now and just see what happens when I put it in. And now you could do what it does with YouTube. So you could put a YouTube video as an example, and what it will do is it will take the transcript from that. So I just put in the Hawks Weekly Instigator as the source.
Just that whole page.
I linked the whole thing, and here's what it came up with. Hawks Agency is a company that provides speaking services, and their website features a blog called Week. So it's done it. Yes, I just put in that link, and it's done it seamlessly. So now I'm generating. So the answer is you could take a company website, stick it in there.
Stay on that for a second, because the FAQ, the study guide, the table of contents, like those are all predefined. So when you click on any of those, it'll generate an FAQ or it'll create a study guide.
I did the FAQ, but I can do a study guide in a second.
Okay, yeah.
So here it is. What is the Hawks Agency? What services do they offer? How can I book a speaker through there? What topics do they speak about? So. Yeah, pretty quickly just giving this information that it back, and then you can come back here again and, okay, let's do a briefing doc. That might be pretty useful for people. So again, now it's created this already
has the FAQ.
Now it's got notes, key themes, motivational speaking, focus on personal and professional growth. Here are the examples of some of the articles, because this is just doing the Weekly Instigator.
Right. It's not the whole website. It's just that. Yeah.
Well, that's the link I gave it. So whether or not it's scraping other parts, but it's pretty crazy how quickly it's going to do these things. So it's as a resource to learn about something in a very quick way when you don't have time because everyone's so busy now. And if you do have time, it's still useful. It still enables you to have other ways to digest and learn and share with your team about something that's going on. So I think it's one of those things.
All in the audio format. And is it just that because we're such a mobile society, the idea of being able to listen, have it summarized and listened is just so much more useful than reading? Is that, it's like, because, sometimes I listen to books and I'm not sure I'm an auditory learner. So I'm like, I like reading or underlining or, that kind of thing. And so like, I'm a little like, or is it because it's summarized and conversational? It's like, that's what's going to stick in our mind. We'll get the essence of it instead of all of the facts and details.
So I think part of it is that it's definitely conversational. That's the part that's going to have, you're going to be listening to these people talking about things. It's I've listened to a whole bunch of them. It's really just done well. They sound like two people who are talking about it. Now, it has all those other functions. So if you're like, I just need a summary, you could do that. The reason I think it's gotten the attention is because of that particular feature, which none of the other LLMs have done yet. Llama's working on Llama, so LM. And so OpenAI is working on it. So they're all, and I think that's the thing you have to recognize is all these big frontier models are going to be able to do a lot of the same things in a good way, because then you can find the one that you like. So you said Gamma was the kind of one you figured out. Well, yeah, I could use Gemini or I could use ChatGPT. You figure out which ones work for the best use case that you want. And it's just another tool for learning how you can up your game, and understand.
Okay, let's
from this perspective.
I only have a few more minutes with you, and then we're bringing you back after we chat with Lou, and Monica and John are going to bring some things. Should we do the video? Like you told me about some video, prompted some video. Should we do that now or save that for our time with Lou?
I'll do one now, and then I'll do one with that. So one of the questions people was like, what can I use it for? And one of these,
that's always the question. What can I use this for?
I am not bilingual. I speak English, and that's all I speak. I mean, I'm married to a British woman, and I almost barely can understand what she says. So one of the questions is like, well, what if you're dealing with people? Now you can take your phone and it's now a translator. But let's say you had a message you want to share, and now you're going into a new territory like Mexico or somewhere else. You can have AI is really good at translation, but not just translation, but in terms of showcasing your ability to translate things. So here we go. This is going to be a little demo.
Now I want to do a little demo, and I want you to watch carefully to see how well AI can showcase discussions in different languages. Ahora quiero hacer una demostración y observen para ver cómo la IA muestra discusiones en diferentes idiomas. Je veux faire une démonstration et je veux que vous regardiez pour voir comment l'IA peut présenter des discussions en différentes langues.
My favorite.
现在我想做一个小演示，我希望你们仔细观看，看看人工智能在不同语言的讨论中能表现得多好。
And by the way, I have a student in one of my classes that's from Hong Kong who said that my accent was pretty good. So
that's wild.
Right.
Wild. So for international companies, I mean, what I love about that is that so the CEO or the training and development department or the HR department or even sales trainings, one person could do it and then broadcast it to all of their different locations around the world, and it translates it, but through the same person who's the leader.
Yes, and I think that there's a bigger headline there, which is personalization. One of the things that AI is going to help you do is personalize your message to the different people. There are tools now with email where it can basically take your email and, knowing the relationship with the person who you're emailing, tweak it for what is important to them. And that's where AI is going to continue to really be powerful, where you're going to have a message that you want to be more specific for the different people that you're communicating with, and it's going to help you do it better.
That's amazing. Okay, I'm going to bring Monica and John on. I'm going to send you away. Stick around, because after Lou, you're going to join Lou and I together, and it's just going to be so fabulous. So I will see you back here in 20, 30 minutes. Thanks, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
Let's see. Yep. All right, let's get Monica, and let's see John. All right, Monica and John, I'm just going to get out of the way. I'm going to hide myself. I'm going to let you two chat for a little bit, and then I will just jump right back in when you say so, okay?
Okay.
Sounds great.
Well, hey, John.
Hey, Monica, what's up?
Not much. All kinds. I think that was awesome. Listening to Jeffrey when they got into the different languages, I was just giggling. I was like,
I was done. I was done. Amazing. I was totally mind blown.
So, John, I want us to take a little bit of a different approach to this chat around AI. And I wanted to start off with a question for you that I think really hones in on your expertise, but also what you've been digging into yourself personally as an executive and as a professional in the realms of AI. And so my first question for you is, what do you see as one of, or maybe the biggest hesitations that people have when it comes to bridging the gap between AI hesitations and AI progress, or AI just diving into it and thriving with it? What are the hesitations that people have?
Well, I think, Monica, it's a really great human conversation about where do I fit, right?
Right.
All of us are asking that question of where do I fit? What does this mean for my job? What does
Right.
this mean for my skill set? What does this mean for the things that I hold dear? So I think the primary threat comes from, do I see myself as being integrated into the next iteration of the world? I recently did a training for some nonprofit peers, and it was really interesting. In the nonprofit world, we're behind, we're laggards when it comes down to new technology.
Yeah.
Generally, that's just kind of where we are.
Uh-huh.
And it was really interesting. One of the questions that I received was, John, does this really even matter? It was almost like a, hey, this too shall pass.
Yeah.
And so my message back to them, which I didn't mean to be a threat, but one of them took as a threat. I said, imagine it's the year that the internet came out. And in 10 years, the internet is going to change everything. Would you agree that the internet in 1992, when it was starting to be let out, and it had been worked on for years, but 1992, 1993, AOL, I don't know about you, what was your AOL screen name? Do you remember yours?
I don't
What it
remember.
was?
No.
Mine was Pizza Steve 985, okay? Pizza Steve 985.
Oh, God.
Well, Pizza Steve 985 is getting used to this idea of using the internet in the work that we have. And I think the fear that people had, they said, well, how long has the internet been around? I said, for about 2 years now in this case. AI has been growing in its use case. And their threat was, is it too late?
Yeah.
Their threat was, is it for me? Their threat was, what happens next? I think that is the driver behind a lot of the fear that people have.
In reading up on this and really looking inward myself as a leader and as a professional, because when I first read, like the day of, I remember like when the news broke and like AI was out, I immediately had this sense of this changes everything. And there was this fear. I'm going to tell my age. So just like bear with me here. I'm like nervous, almost like, why am I so nervous to say how old I am? So I'm 41. And for me, I was looking at some of the statistics for my generation. I'm a Zennial. I'm right on the cusp there of the X and millennial. And so I was reading, though, that over half of workers above 35 are not using AI. And so I really checked in with myself and looked at some of the reasons. And I think you touched on one of the biggest reasons is like this understanding of this is going to affect my work negatively. And one of the challenges that we have, and this is, again, like you said, it's a human issue. It's looking at the glass half full rather than half empty. Like, where is the opportunity in this? Because yes, it will change things. It is inevitable. But whether it has a positive impact or negative impact is completely contingent on our perspective and approach to the use of these tools. And so, moving on just from like the hesitation side of it, I always am like, okay, so how can we have the right perspective? Where is the opportunity here? There's my boy behind there. What are the opportunities that we have to see progress, to help people, get beyond their hesitations and into working with AI in new realms? What do you think some ways are that we can encourage people who have hesitations or fears? Obviously, we can't speak to all the fears. I mean, one of them for me was just like, are they going to start watching everything I do? Like, like just those things that we just worry about, like weirdly. So we're not going to be able to tackle all those, but what are some ways that we can help and other professionals and leaders move forward?
The three positives that I think we've got to prepare for, and I use prepare in an important way, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think if we're not prepared, yes, those things will be threats. But if we are prepared, I think we will be able to benefit from these things. I think the first that I want to uplift is the opportunity for perspective, right? For perspective. One of the things that I think you start with the first draft of I write a column every month, and I go to write that column, and I want to get some perspective, new ideas, that kind of thing. Get outside of my daily. That element of generative AI and large language models being able to give me some new perspective, whether it be through brainstorming or seeing things from different vantage points. I live in a rural context, and so I didn't grow up in a rural context. It has helped me gain perspective when it comes down just to the words that I use or the ideas that I have. That's been really helpful. I think secondly, when it comes down to problem solving, I think one of the ways that problem solving happens is by kind of that innovative testing different thoughts and ideas. So for instance, as a speaker, we've been, you put together these various proposals, and I get accustomed to the words that are normative to me. I get accustomed to communicating in one particular way or another. Well, I used a tool, and I said, hey, grade me and tell me about what you heard. And it was so painful. This AI literally said, you aren't clear. Here's 5 specific places that you're not clear, and this is what you should work on.
Stop it.
Yeah. I'm trying to tell y'all, it was the biggest, most rude. I almost was like, hey, you're disrespectful, go away.
Yeah.
But man, it solved the problem of me only having my own voice in my own head all the time.
Yeah.
That was huge. Number 3, and this is something that I think is important from an ethical standpoint. Generative AI is valuable for the first draft, never the final draft.
Yeah.
The only way that we can help younger generations and old generations bridge between the gap, that younger generation is going to be comfortable with the first draft being close to a final draft. That older generation can bring in wisdom to say your first draft is far off the mark.
Yeah.
I think for those people with technology hesitancies or AI hesitancy, they can feel passed up. But organizations that want to bridge the gap is, let's provide mutual mentorship where those younger generations can say, I'll love to try some things out. The older generation can say, let me bring you some wisdom. You've not looked at this before.
Yeah. I love that. That was gold right there. Like being able to bridge the gaps of communication and training. Hi, Greg.
Hey, that was gold. I was like, Monica, you are right. That was gold. I know you guys just have this small window. I sure appreciate what you both had to say. John, I love how you connect the gaps to it. So, Monica, how are you imagining your future with it? It was like you had the capture, you were like, it's like the internet. What 2 years from now, what do you imagine you and AI will be like? I know that's a very random off the cuff.
That is.
I like thinking in these situations.
I think the way that you frame your question actually tells a lot about how you interact with it. Because you talk to it like a friend. And I use it. I think like everyone else, and the people who are hesitant to use it, I mean, I think understand. I also had my own hesitations, but I think using it to answer questions, to help with language, like John was saying, we get stuck in our own language sometimes, and it certainly helps to expand it that way. And then also, I think finding solutions to problems that are tough, that we like maybe we put on the back burner because it's like nobody knows the answer to this. Honestly, you can have some great prompts and options for solutions if you ask AI, because all it's doing is pulling from thousands and millions of thinkers that have put their stuff out there. They're in the public, and it is pulling answers from it doesn't mean it's all right, but I mean, I've got with AI. I mean, I've gone all in. Greg's like, thank you so much, sir. I appreciate, and you're like so kind, and I'm like, listen, this is a business relationship.
Oh no, it's personal with me. Listen, I know one day they're all going to rule the world, and they're going to look back and go, "Well, this guy was nice to us, so let's not snuff him out in the great how they're going to."
Apocalypse.
Think of the word right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, the apocalypse of the robots. So I'm sowing seed right now that I'm on their side. If I have to choose a side, I'm choosing with robots all the time. I love that, John. It was like, hey, buddy, I guess nobody's told you yet about some of your communication flaws. I'm like, dang it, that is good. But here's what I imagine. Like, wait till you see what Jeffrey shows us, because that idea, that conversation. I mean, here's what I imagine, Monica, in a couple of years, that you're just talking to the computer and it's talking back to you, and doesn't feel like, oh, it's just data from the internet. It's like, this is a great friend of mine who's really helping me think through things. Okay, listen, I got to get you guys off because Lou is here, and Lou's going to blow us away with the functional, practical. Listen, I love legal. I love law. And so thank you all. Stick around. We may see you back here in a few minutes, or may not. I do not know. We shall see. Let's see where Lou is at. Lou Lessig, super lawyer extraordinaire. There is only one Lou Lessig Esquire who serves companies, organizations. I don't know if it's internationally. I know you're all over the place nationally. So I assume the world loves you and wants you, Lou. And so let's just jump right in, because John mentioned the word ethical. So which then that's in your personal, and we didn't talk about college students and education systems and how that could transform all that. But you get to be a part of right now in the legal system of how these things, so whether it's copyright issues, whether it's plagiarism within business, whether it's stealing other people's data and utilizing it in businesses. So it's very wild, wild west. It all feels like Napster right now. If you were old enough to be alive for Napster, it all feels like everything is fair game. If the computers can access it and figure it out, like all legalities are out the window, because, we're just trying to figure this out. And boy, that feels like a lot of gray area. And so, especially in the creative industry, especially in the entertainment world of all of that, but most people are in the real business world, which entertainment is business. Tell us some things you're learning, experiencing, helping people with. Like you and Jeffrey and I have been in HR settings, talking about handbooks and policies. And then as far as like communication and where we're giving credit, like it's just such a broad experience. I will stop talking now. Share with us, Lou, your deep wisdom on things we need to be mindful of, things you're seeing, things you're dealing with, yada, yada, yada.
All right. Well, cool. Well, I tell you, I think I might be more excited about this topic than even you are, Greg. But here's what I really want to share, man. I mean, I think Monica was right. I think it's this issue around where is stuff being pulled from. And you mentioned this idea that what about copyrights? What are people saying? And Jeffrey's talking about Notebook LM and how it's creating this mini podcast idea from the ethos, and it comes up with two names, and it's like trying to talk to Oz and figure stuff out, which, by the way, is all great except for one thing. There was something that came out recently where, the U.S. Patent Office was pretty clear. We are not going to give a patent to something that is created by AI. It has to be created by a person. Now, whether that still holds a year from now, we'll have to wait and see. But wait, there's more, because when you think about where is stuff getting pulled from, we start to hear about use cases in the business area, like a small company that I won't name. See, I almost did. But here's what happens, right? They're trying to figure stuff out, and they're playing around with the ChatGPT version. I think it was 1.0 at the time. And they put in proprietary information. And then what happens? Yeah. Everybody sent home, because what did they just do? They just took proprietary information without a firewall, dropped it into ChatGPT, and guess where it is? Everywhere. And you begin to appreciate the fact that whether you're like Monica, whether you're like John, whether you're more AI enthused like Jeffrey, or like you and I, Greg, what we have to appreciate is the fact that in the workplace, we're really dealing with things on two levels. On the one hand, we have the Monica, John, Greg, and Lou concerns, trying to figure out how things work. That's sort of that idea around, let's educate you on what this stuff can do. And then you have the other side of it, which is, well, the Jeffrey, I know how to do this stuff, but what are we going to let you do? The other day, I asked one of my kids, hey, how come you don't have homework? And they turned to me and said, well, Dad, I mean, I can put it into ChatGPT. They're not making me do homework in the same way you did, back in the dark ages. And what becomes important is to appreciate in the workplace, if we're dealing with both of those things, right? Educating our staff, because let's be honest, not everybody that works for you is probably under 35 and using AI,
Right.
which means now we've got to bridge this gap, right? And then we also have to put in
Mhm.
some guardrails to let them know things. And so really, I think there are three things we're seeing in the workplace. Number one is we've got fear mongering, people that are saying, oh my God, I'm going to lose my job. It's going to get rid of me. What am I going to do? Then we have the idea around knowledge, being that idea of, hey, this is what, as Jeffrey showed us, Notebook LM can do. Or look, I can talk Chinese fluently with a good accent, which is fantastic, but still a little
amazing.
scary. And then, hey, here is what your job entails. This is what your job description says. And oh, by the way, there may be ways that you can off some of the things you don't like to do, and AI can help you do it. Isn't that awesome? And where is that line? And by the way, from an employer's perspective, what is going to be okay and what are we going to let you do? So, for example, I'm sure you haven't had the experience of trying to interview somebody, Greg, where they're looking past you because on the other side of you is a tablet hooked into ChatGPT, listening to your question for their interview, and it's responding to them behind it, and they're just reading it. Not that would ever happen, because
No.
resume fraud never happened before. Imagine what it's like now.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. And you start to wonder, how does this stuff work? But really, there are a couple things going on here, right? We have to appreciate the fact that from a legal perspective, like a traditional legal perspective, the EU was the first group really to come out with legislation in this area, what's okay, what's not, and how they they have a 4-part sliding scale. The US is still trying to figure it out at the national level, but just like marijuana, frankly, we're doing everything by states in terms of AI. So whether you're in Colorado or Illinois, or New York, or New Jersey, or Florida, or Oklahoma, things are a little bit different. And so the challenge is, where are your operations based, and trying to figure out what works best for you, because let's be honest, all 5 of us come from different areas and we may be more individualized, but if you're in an organization with 5, 10, 15,000 employees, all those different folks, we've got to figure out how to balance that. And that's where the fun is from my perspective, because it's not that we don't want you to use AI. It's sort of this idea of, well, there shouldn't be any harassment, so just don't do it, period. Zero tolerance is fine, but there is a certain amount of joking that's going to happen at work, right?
Yeah.
And so when we talk about AI, we have to be practical. We have to be optimistic, appreciating how things are working. The AI overwhelm that Jeffrey mentioned is incredibly real. I see it a lot. But at the same time, I want to be able to empower people, show them, hey, maybe what we're going to do is we're going to agree to use ChatGPT, or we're going to agree to use Gemini, and here are the parameters. And let's bring in somebody like a Jeffrey to show you how to use it, so you feel more comfortable with the tools. And then now that you're comfortable, now let's explain to you, this is where it's okay in work, and this is where it's not okay.
Okay, so let me ask you, because like you just referenced, like Microsoft has incorporated their AI into everything, and the majority of the world still has Office 365, and Google has quite a grip as well. But Microsoft's rolling out and incorporating what? So let's just say there's some business leaders watching. Everybody's going to be playing with it. Like, there is no don't do it. It's obviously don't put proprietary information on it. Don't put our things on it. I know people are like creating their own like chat GPTs within their own businesses. And so kind of that thing that's walled in. So I know some accounting firms that are doing that. But from a legal, like, can an individual be legally at risk in a company? What is the company? Like, what are the 2 or 3, like, listen, you protect yourself this way? Like, what's the best next legal steps for a company who everybody wants to innovate, everybody wants to utilize it to like, how do we get ahead? How if I do use it to write reports or to put together things for clients, like, is it illegal to Jeffrey saying I can just take a website, put it in there, and I'm putting together a proposal and I'm kind of pitching it back out to them as if I created it? Do I ever have to give acknowledgement that I used AI? Like give me some of that kind of stuff for specifically, and I know every state's different, everything, but like, give me some best practices just that you've seen kind of around that type of stuff.
Sure. So the very first thing I think that every business ought to do is take a look at and think about how they want to address AI within their workplace. Come up with their own policy. Allow themselves to provide those guardrails for their employees, because to begin with, that is the fundamental issue for them. Now, when we start talking about what can we or can't we do, I think there's a level of practicality that has to come into this. A lot of this stuff, remember that the law is always playing catch up. So it may be that it's going to be different 6 months, 12 months, a year from now. But right now, do you have to disclose? No. Would it be transparent for you to disclose? Absolutely. And maybe there's a question about saying, whether it's from the stage or wherever, okay, this was created with ChatGPT. This was created just by me. And there is a distinction there. And so having the opportunity to have transparency takes on a whole new meaning today that I think is critically important. It also means that from a business perspective, we can't be like an ostrich. You can't presume, oh, I just got this great new program, like you say, right? I just got Microsoft 365. It's so awesome, and ignore the fact that Copilot is there, because the truth is, it is. And so if you're going to use it, and appreciate how you're going to use it, but do it with your eyes wide open about how you're doing it rather than hiding it. Because what happens, right? What kind of trust are you creating either as an owner or a renter by turning to someone and saying, well, gee, I did it all myself, when they know you created it with something else, or it used verbiage that you would not normally use, and so they know it. And so I think those are some of those areas. The other piece is, and I would agree with something that Monica said, as well as what Jeffrey said, and I think John also touched on it, this idea that it's meant to help you. So if you're trying, maybe you're having like writer's block. Used to be we would just like go for a run or take a walk, and now it's pop into Copilot, help me out, right? Well, if they're able to do that, and it's able to help prompt you, and then you take it from there, that's fine too. But again, I think there is certainly the humanity is all about the transparency from my perspective.
Okay, so what is there any? I'm going to ask you this final, and then we'll get Jeffrey back on here and wrap us up. I'm going to show some videos that I saw earlier. Is there any absolute thing a company should not do? Like, if the law is catching up, is it then like, well, let's just keep? It's kind of like one of the, maybe it was ChatGPT or OpenAI that like took movies and just put all the movies in there. And they can create, they can try to do all these things, and it's like, well, that was all violation of copyright. And and they were like, well, we could access it again, kind of that Napster vibe. But is it just like, hey, try to do as much as you can with it, and then we'll find out? Or is there like absolutely don't? Because even the thing you're saying about, is it ChatGPT or is it Greg? I'm like, well, I had an idea, then I put it in here, and it prompted an idea, and then I took that idea and I tweaked it myself, and I put it back in the chat, and it thought of another thing, and I was like, hey, that. And so it's like, well, we're so enmeshed. It's really, and if like Monica said, it's my friend. So I don't give credit to my friends when I brainstorm with them. Hey, Lou, I got an idea. Can we talk through it? So why would I give credit to my robot friends who also are just helping me think through things?
Well, no, that's interesting, Greg, and it may be industry specific, because I will tell you this: every brief that I send into the court, if I have an associate that works with me, their name is on the brief too. And so it may be industry specific, but I also think that this is the dawn of something different. But don't forget, when we talk about things like copyright and other concerns, all the other laws that currently exist on the books, whether it's federal, state, or local, still apply, right? You can't harass somebody or what have you. So you also can't take that great line from A Few Good Men, with Nicholson and everything's going on. So appreciate that there are guardrails there.
Yeah. Okay, so Jeffrey's jumping back in. I am thrilled about the possibilities, Jeffrey, of how it can expand our business reach in speaking, consulting, serving clients, just like businesses, I'm sure. And anybody that's resisting, we know that's just a bad stand. I think it's interesting, Lou, that the patent office said it can't be computer generated because it starts with a human, though at some point I'm guess and then computers will just start self-populating ideas that don't need prompts. So I think that's really interesting because there's going to be a lot of advantages that they offer. It's like, well, the humans have to stay on top. So Jeffrey, you've heard all these conversations. You have some magic videos that I think are just going to blow people away. With you and how all the different imagery, because I want an avatar. I want to be able to clone myself and have multiple things happening at the same time. So I can be having a conversation with Lou. I can be talking to Monica and John. I can be speaking in Sydney, Australia. Like, help me multiply myself so that time, this is what I have to believe. This revolution AI is man's effort to beat time, which it just can't, right? It's the container we all exist in. And yet it feels like I'm getting a whole lot more of my time, except Lou's kids now, and all of our kids are like, I'm just not getting smart. I'm just asking, so it's the weirdest dumbification, if that's an appropriate term, of our education system because it is so accessible. And yet it's such a rapid rise of automation to utilize tools that then we may not need all of our brain power, but that doesn't seem possible. So what do you think, Jeffrey?
I have very specific thoughts on both the things you said. In terms of...
You're an educator also. You're in the education system.
Ethan Mollick, who's a professor at Wharton, he wrote an article last year called The Homework Apocalypse, where basically he's saying everyone's going to use it. He wrote a recent article called The Post-Apocalyptic Situation. And what he said was, as human beings, we like to give stuff to computers, and he's okay with that, except when it comes to education, because part of education is the effort. And they did studies where they had two groups of students. One group used ChatGPT AI as the cheating shortcut, and another group used it and was trained to use it like a tutor. And so what happened is both groups did really well on the quizzes and the assignments, and then the final exam came, and the people that used it as a cheat didn't do very well, and the people that used it as a tutor did. So with all of these things, it's not just about the tool, it's about how you learn to use it effectively. And for all the AI overwhelm, the fear, the answer to me is education and training. That's the answer. So it's got to be across the board. How are you learning yourself? Right now, the problem in education is that the educators don't know how to use it. They don't know how to use it.
The students do. The students do. The students know, and the educators don't. Like, it's a reverse world.
Do a little bit. Like, not
true.
They're just using it at the kind of base level, but they're not being trained how to get the most out of it. So I think the idea of the human in the loop is something I feel very strongly about. I think it's not only important in terms of maintaining our humanity, but I also think the human loop gets you better results. So that's why you need to have it. So I'm going to show you two quick videos.
Show me these videos.
You haven't seen
Lou,
this.
Watch this.
I'm going to start with the clone first.
Okay.
So here
So
we
you're
go.
going to clone me.
This,
awesome.
I know. Well, let me do that. I tried. This was a personal use. So this is was from my mother-in-law's birthday.
Okay.
Hi, Ruth. Happy birthday. I'm sorry I won't be there in person when Nita comes. I want to wish you lots of love on your special day. Hope it is filled with all the things you like to do, as you deserve it. Lots of love, Gigi. Oh, by the way, if I look or sound a bit funny, that's because this isn't really me. I mean, not really. This is created using AI. As such, I refer to this as
Oh my
GKAI. Fun, isn't it?
And that was done in January. So it just gets better and better. And that wasn't me. That was the AI. And some people are like, oh, if you know me well, you could probably tell. But eventually you won't be able to tell. And then there's other videos.
Yeah, show us other one. But like, did you just put an upload image of yourself and then you just put it in some sort of program?
HeyGen is the name of which is the one that a lot of people use. I fed it video. So I can now create me saying anything I want. And it has a digital avatar of me, a clone, that will then, I just put in text and it'll just say it as me.
Lou, any legal problems with that? If him saying of himself, but
I know nothing.
so I could put in videos. Could I take all of Jeffrey's videos, put them in this thing, and I could get Jeffrey to say stuff?
At the moment, you can't. And I tried to do it of you, Greg, when we were speaking. Sure. It basically gets to a point where you put it up and it says, okay, create this avatar. And then it asks you to record a video live, giving your permission. And it knows that I wasn't you. Is there a workaround? Of course there is. And people will figure it out. But I also think it's pretty interesting that you can create versions of yourself or versions of content that start with you and then end up, transforming to something slightly different. So this is a little video. I edited it a little bit.
This is crazy.
So the first 30 seconds is me actually talking.
Okay, this is actually you.
The distinction between computer intelligence and human intelligence. This perspective focuses too much on the differences and fails to really understand and appreciate the true power of this fast emerging technology we refer to as artificial intelligence. The transformative power of AI lies in what I like to call connected intelligence. While many people debate the distinction between computer intelligence and human intelligence,
this perspective focuses too much on the differences and
understand and appreciate the true power of this fast emerging technology
we refer to as artificial intelligence. The transformative power of AI
lies in what I like to call connected intelligence.
And there you have it.
Okay, so that's nuts. Yeah. So what program did you use to do that? And can I have a Pixar creation of me that then I could broadcast from?
Right. The program is called Runway, which is a video creation. This is it's called Studio Act 1, I think is the name of the new feature. At the moment, all those things, I didn't create any of those characters. They were default ones, kind of the templates they have. But you can upload images and things. And again, as I always say, today is November 6th. AI is the worst it will ever be. So as good as you think these things are, they're just going to get better and better. And you'll be able to create yourself.
So to clarify, you just uploaded an audio file of yourself and it populated those so people could take videos that they've recorded and upload a video or the audio, extract the audio from it, put it up and create unique videos of themselves and different characters.
Yeah. So the process, this wasn't quite that straightforward, although it should be. So the first video I actually recorded was live of me. So that was a real video of me. And then the second part where it's the character and my voice is you can do directly on LM. There's a way to do the voice, but I was rushing. So I used another program called 11 Labs, which is the best kind of voice generator that's out there for AI, and created those voices. Some of them were actually, I think, already there. And then so I did a little bit of editing in Premiere Pro to create the version of me with the voice I wanted and then uploaded it. So it's not, I'm making it sound more complicated than it is. And eventually it will get easier and easier. And if you aren't it's like any other tool, I can edit a little bit, doesn't replace an actual video
Yeah.
editing.
Yeah.
So,
Listen, guys, we got to wrap up. It's already an hour's in. So, Lou, I think your law practice with all of these deep fakes and turning humans into Pixar characters and animals and different nationalities, I think you're going to have just a load of fun in the legal system in the near future with all of that. So that's what I'm hopeful for. So, Jeffrey, we can find you on your website. Can they just search Jeffrey Klein or Jeffrey Klein, and then Lou, the same thing, Louis Lessig?
the best place to find me now is 9dots.ai.
9dots.ai. That's your business, your consultancy. You're serving companies and helping folks all over the world grapple with this and utilize it effectively. Lou, you've got your Lou Lessig, or on LinkedIn.
Absolutely.
Or on
LinkedIn
your
is always the easiest way to do it.
LinkedIn is the best place to find it.
Yeah,
Okay.
same for me.
I sure appreciate you guys, John and Monica. Listen, and myself, we are available anytime to work with you in all the different realms of business and work and communication, all the things that go with it. So thank you very much for being here, and we will see you again next time. And I'm going to stop the recording now, and then we'll have some fun conversations offline. I'm sorry those of you watching can't hear all the other conversations we're getting ready to have.